One of the most memorable cases I was involved in is about a 76-year-old male resident that I'll call James, from a long-term care facility who sustained multiple falls during a 3-year course of stay. Due to the gross negligence, this case is unforgettable. So some of the facts are, on the last day of his life, James was found on the floor in his room lying on his back with shallow breathing and faint pulses. The resident had a DNR status and the facility did not intervene. EMS was called approximately 30 minutes later by the facility. The resident was pronounced dead. The initial position from the facility was that the resident must have put himself on the floor and they did not hear anything. The facility also alleged that there were no visible injuries noted at the time of the incident. The wife of the resident was not notified until the next day after the incident, and she was told that her husband had been found on the floor by a certified nursing assistant. The resident was sent to the funeral home as listed on the paperwork. A few days later, the funeral home director alerted the nursing facility, wife, and the police of the condition of the body. The director was appalled. He stated that he tried everything to stop the clear yellow fluid from coming out of the resident's ears, but nothing he did would stop the leaking. It was later confirmed that the fluid was cerebrospinal fluid, which is indicative of blunt force trauma to the head. In addition, he had old and new bruises. Needless to say, the facility did not document the incident as a fall and did not report the incident to the appropriate state authorities as a result of the resident's death. In fact, the facility did not document the incident until approximately 30 hours after the incident, and the documentation appeared to be scripted. Further investigation confirmed that the documents were tampered with and there were many missing documents. The attorney attempted to depose the CNA and licensed nurse involved in the case, and the nursing assistant initially refused to speak. She later admitted that she was told by the nursing home administrator and director of nursing of the facility what to say and what to write. She disclosed all the details of the incident. She admitted that she was taking the resident to the toilet and his hand slipped from the rail and she was unable to catch him before he fell to the floor. Per the nursing assistant, the resident hit his head on the floor and she was very fearful. She stated that she took the resident out of the bathroom and laid him on the floor in his room to see if he had any injuries and to determine if he was stable. She had to drag him out, I guess. She stated that she immediately notified the nurse. The nurse revealed that she did not immediately call 911 because the resident had a DNR status, but she later felt that she needed to cover all bases and have EMS services evaluate the resident to ensure that everything was okay. The resident was noted to be expired at the time of EMS arrival. The expert services I provided included a case screening, request and review of additional medical records, a brief report, deposition questions, and reading of nursing staff and administrator depositions. My findings of the failures to meet the standards of care are as follows. There were many, but I'll only state a few here. 1. The nursing facility failed to provide a comprehensive care plan that included updated fall information with interventions to guide the care for the resident. Number 2. The facility failed to educate the facility staff on fall prevention and the resident's plan of care regarding falls and interventions. 3. The facility failed to review the resident's prior falls and implement interventions to mitigate future falls and injuries. Number 4. The facility failed to provide updated fall risk assessments for the resident's safety. Number 5. The nursing facility failed to provide an appropriate diagnosis for the resident's antipsychotic medication, which increased his risk of falls and death. Number 6. The facility failed to follow the resident's plan of care, requiring a 2-person assist with transfers, resulting in a fall with significant injury and ultimately death. Number 7. The nursing facility failed to provide neurological checks for falls with a head injury when the head was hit for the resident's safety. Number 8. The facility failed to follow state and federal regulations regarding the care of residents with falls. Number 9. The nursing facility failed to report an incident that met the state guidelines for reporting incidents to the proper authorities. The expected defense arguments are as follows, and I always look at those. The resident was 76 years old and had many chronic health conditions predisposing him to falls and a decline. Number 2, the resident was known to self-transfer without assistance and was found on the floor by facility staff. Blame the resident. Number 3, the facility followed all policies and procedures regarding falls and incident management. Number 4, the resident had no visible injuries when he was found on the floor by facility staff. Number 5, the fluid leaking from the resident's ears was a result of a medical condition. So the real lessons learned here are that to identify the needs of the attorney and communicate the LNC services you offer. An attorney hired me to screen a case. Once the attorney saw the thoroughness of my work product and case analysis, he asked me to write multiple reports for his cases. I keep an open line of communication with the attorney and the legal assistant. Because of the quality of my work product and accountability, I have been able to offer additional LNC services such as deposition questions and names of testifying experts. Another area that I performed was to identify missing records when initially screening the case. I learned that all cases are different, but there are similarities. Using chronology tables assisted me with the events in the case. Stick to the facts. Get familiar with the electronic medical record and all the different ones around the country and where to locate the information. Look closely for tampering of medical records during the initial case screening. Number 6, print out your reports, edit and revise, and then review again for accuracy. If you proofread only while reviewing the computer screen, there definitely will be errors that you miss. Sit on the record for a day or two to reflect over the work product if possible. I have experienced many aha moments that were helpful. The nursing facility offered to settle the case, and a state investigation was initiated due to the noncompliance and tampering. The Board of Nursing was also involved and notified by the family. My LNC services impact the case in a positive manner, assisting the attorney to further develop the case, and ended with a favorable outcome and closure for the plaintiff. This case made me realize that desperate people will go through extreme measures to cover up actual events and sometimes commit fraud and tampering in the process. This case strengthened my financial status. I was compensated thousands of dollars in revenue, and this case resulted in my receiving additional cases. The plaintiff, who was the wife of James, was able to finally get the closure of what happened to her husband. She was also compensated, and the case generated approximately $1 million for the family. So that's one of the memorable cases that I had.